My goodness, my singing bowl seems very awake this morning. It was really quite a startling thing to have it go off like that. Good morning. Welcome to the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Mary Murray Shelton, the community spiritual leader here. And I'm happy to welcome you all this morning as you come and settle yourselves in place. Don't get too settled, though, because the first thing we're going to do is say good morning to each other and welcome and greet one another. So I want to invite you to take a moment to do that right now. So just stand up, go say hello, introduce yourself to anybody you don't know yet, welcome new people, welcome those you haven't seen in a while, and just generally schmooze for a minute. And good morning to all those of you who are online. We're delighted that you're here with us this morning. Please give yourselves some love as well. And we will be singing our opening song in just a few minutes. Is that one on? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, come on back to your seats. I just want to reiterate and let you know and remind you that when you're here by divine appointment. Now, what I mean by that is that for whatever reason you've been drawn here today by Spirit, there are no accidents, and we're all here together to share this experience because we're the perfect combination of people in this moment for our own heart's awakening. And so we welcome that. And if you're new to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, I want to remind you and let you know that whoever you are, wherever you may be on your spiritual path, and that includes all of you online, you are welcome here with us. One of our spiritual values that we share in common is community. This congregation identified its values, and one of them is community. And by that, what we mean is that community is a welcoming place of belonging, where spiritual growth is supported and shared. So that's what we're in the process of here together today. And I want to say early on, happy Thanksgiving, because it's coming up this Thursday. You'll be hearing a little bit more about that later on. Our morning musician this morning is Lisa Ferraro. She's been with us online, of course, before because she lives in Ohio. But I want to tell you a little bit about Lisa before we stand up to sing the opening song. She is a native of Pittsburgh. She grew up in the rich jazz tradition of that recognizable style, and she records and works with many of the homegrown greats in jazz. She currently resides in Columbus, Ohio, and she's a vocal coach, she's an international speaker, a meditation leader, a retreat facilitator, a coach, and she has launched an online inspirational platform called Soul Call Sunday. And the platform is designed to spark creativity and connection with the spirit of creation inherent in the soul of everybody. So you want to find out more about that, you can go to soulcallglobal.org. Otherwise, if you want to know more about Lisa, just go to lisaferraro.com. And her latest jazz recording, Serenading the Moon, has charted on the Billboard jazz charts. It's a collaboration with some of the finest jazz players on the scene today. So we're going to do our opening song right now. We've done this one before. It's pretty simple. You'll pick it up right away. This is Lisa with We Are One. So please stand now and join us in the opening song.
Good morning. So great to be with you this morning. It's a song called We Are One in the Spirit. I think I might have played this for you once before. It's easy to catch on. We are one in the Spirit of God. We are one in the Spirit of God. We are one. We are the
whole
spirit
thing.
of love. We are one in the spirit of love. We are one in the spirit of love. We are one, we are one, we are one, we are one, we are one in the spirit of love, in the spirit of joy. We are one in the spirit of joy. We are one, we are one in the spirit of joy. We are one, we are one, we are one, we are one, we are one in the spirit of joy, in the spirit of God. We are one in the spirit of God. We are one in the spirit of God. We are one, we are one, we are one, we are one, we are one in the spirit of God.
Yes. You may be seated. And I'm going to invite you to silence your cell phones. So turn them off, put them on vibrate, whatever you need to do, so that they won't break the experience that we're having here together. Yeah. All right. So as we turn within now, I want to invite Lori Greerup, who is our morning platform practitioner, to bring us into our spiritual center and begin the service.
Let's take a breath together. Taking a breath of that one life that breathes itself through all that is. Recognizing that breath and dropping down into the presence, the power, the love, the beauty, the joy, the connection that is spirit. That one life, that one love is truly all that there is. There is nothing else, and anything that comes along to look other than that is simply a redirect, guiding us into that place where we remember the one life that lives through each one, that is God. And so in this moment, in this time, opening to that greater activity of spirit through this service, I know that this sacred container is already blessed and holy in its expression, in the revelation, in the words spoken through Reverend Mary. And so I give thanks for that divine activity, for the knowing that each one receives the perfect message in the perfect way to uplift and to reveal more and more good beyond what is imagined. And so I give thanks for this today, and I let it be, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Lori.
This song called Open Wide My Heart. And just sing along and allow yourself to feel what it feels like to be home, to be at home in your heart. Open wide my 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 heart. Feel it. Open wide my heart. 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 My heart. My heart. My
Today is the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and that is a day for families and friends and people of transgender experience to be remembered, those that have been killed because of their identity. I have mentioned in here before that I have a cousin that has a son who's transgender, and he is such a happy human being, such a good man, that I'm so grateful he fell into a family that could recognize him for who he was and accept him with so much love. His parents and his 3 siblings are right there with him. All his nieces, they're all nieces. There are gazillions of them, but they're all nieces. And they're just a lovely, lovely family. He's married. He's a very happy human being. And if you met him, there would be no question in your mind that he was a great man. So some people have an easier time of that than others because of their natural physical expression already. And I have met a number of people whose physical expression doesn't match their gender identity, and it's very difficult because we live in such a binary system that thinks that there are only two genders and that we have to look like those in order to fit in. So I just want to honor those who have had the courage to do what they needed to do to express themselves as the human beings that they are, in spite of the risks, and particularly tenderly remember and honor those who did not survive that. So I just offer that to you and this Thanksgiving week as an appreciation. This month we've been speaking about living from the heart of wonder, and this November month the theme has been coming home to your heart, coming home to our hearts. And so as we prepare to step into Thanksgiving week, our quest today is to find our way back, to find our way back to our hearts and find our way home. You'll notice that the altar by the Frost family this morning represents all those expressions of fall and coming back home again. There are two knitted caps up here that were done by your mom. Did you say Randy's mom? She knitted both of those caps. Randy actually did the glass blowing on that pumpkin that's pumpkin colored on that end, which I find astounding. And so all of the things up there represent coming home, family projects that happened together. The family put the altar together this morning. So we want to thank the Frost family for that, Randy and Karen and Bridget. And today we're working on finding our way back home again with the recognition that there is a sense in us that is always homing toward that direction. You know, we recognize somehow within ourselves as human beings that there is a state or a place or a something that we want to be in. And we have an idea of what we will feel like or what we would feel like if we were there. And even at the best of times in our human experience, we get close, but we might not quite feel it because it's something that isn't exactly a location, but it still requires travel, or so it seems. Travel from the inside. And so when we begin this process, sometimes it's hard to face not knowing where we're going. And like this little story, when a hurricane blew across the Caribbean, it didn't take long for the expensive yacht to be swamped by high waves, sinking without a trace. And there were two survivors, Dr. Eskin, the yacht's owner, and his steward, Benny. And they managed to swim to the closest island, and after reaching that deserted strip of land, the steward was crying, fearful that they would never be found, they would be there forever. But Dr. Eskin remained completely calm, relaxing against a palm tree. And Benny said, "Sir, how can you be so calm? We'll never be discovered here. We're going to die on this lonely island." "Sit down and listen to what I have to say, Benny," Dr. Eskin replied calmly. 5 years ago, I gave the United Way $500,000, and I gave $500,000 to the United Jewish Appeal. I donated the same amounts 4 years ago. And 3 years ago, I did very well in the stock market, so I contributed $750,000 to each of them. Last year, business was good again, so the two charities got $1 million each. So, Benny was practically sobbing at this point. "Well, it's time for their annual fund drives. They'll definitely find me," said Dr. Eskin. When we need to find our way back, sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we count on those that are out there, and sometimes it's important for us to chart our own course back. Sometimes in our inner process, that might change something that we're doing. We might reach out to a practitioner or to a doctor or an alternative healthcare professional or a therapist of some sort in order to support us in making our journey back to what feels like our center, back to what feels like us as whole, balanced, healthy people, right? Does this make sense? And sometimes we can't just go to them and expect them to do it for us. We can go to them, they can offer us suggestions, they can guide us, but unless we take whatever action they're recommending, we may not see a difference. So that might mean we have to change the way we move, or the way we think, or the way we eat, or the way we interact with other people. We might have to study something, we might have to practice something and build up our skills in a particular area. So when we look back at our own life path, we can usually see in retrospect the places where we made mistakes, or our judgment wasn't so good, or we did some dumb things. Anybody here ever do a dumb thing? Yeah? Now, those choices don't define us, but they are the paths that we've walked. They are our life experience, and sometimes we think of them as mistakes. But really, I don't think that they are at all. So when we're charting our journey back home, the course we want to take, we have to start where we are, not where we think we ought to be by this time in our lives, or for whatever other reason, because somebody else would think that we ought to be here. We should try to start from there, even though we haven't gotten there yet. But we can't do that. You know, if you're going on a journey, you know, and you have to fly to New York City, for example, you can't do it sitting in your living room. It's not going to happen, unless you're one of those people who knows how to do astral travel. And I don't know that I've actually met any yet, or at least none that would acknowledge it to me. So we have to get out of the house, get in the car, go to the airport, or take the airporter and fly away, right? There's a series of steps in charting that course. We start from where we are. And then we have to have a certain amount of clarity about where it is we're trying to get to. Where do we want to be? Now, earlier, I said there's something within us that knows what we want it to feel like, or what we expect ourselves to be like when we are there, wherever there is. When I was young and when I was newly in metaphysics, I really believed that there would be a point in my life when I would be there. And then I would live on as an enlightened, happy being with no real problems. I see you laughing. See, the longer we live, the more hilarious that becomes, because we recognize that the complexities of life mean that part of heading there, wherever there is going through the hills and the valleys and the dark places, and crawling under things and climbing over things and losing track of where we are, getting distracted and forgetting what we were doing, thinking maybe it's all in our imagination anyway, and there is no place to really get to that's like that. You know what I mean? So we might have walked so far on some of these paths that we've gotten lost. And actually, that's good news. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So how do we want to travel? Do we want to travel alone? Do we want to travel in a rustic kind of way? Do we want to travel in a way that is more luxurious? Do we want to travel with other people? Do we want to stay in youth hostels, or do we want to stay in 5-star hotels? Do we want to cook over a campfire, or do we want to eat marvelous meals? So the way in which we travel physically translates into the way in which we travel spiritually. Some people become meditators or ascetics or vegan, where they're taking a one end of the spectrum particular practice or process as theirs, practicing it, learning it, owning it, living it, whether it's yoga or vegetarianism or whatever that is. Other people take a more smorgasbord kind of approach. The Chinese restaurant idea of one from column A, one from column B, and make their own path out of that, spiritually sampling various things, taking some as far as they can and then shifting to something else. So many of us do that. So when we walk on these paths, we also need to decide Will there be stops along the way? Do we allow ourselves to take breaks or rest periods or regrouping where we set all of that striving aside and we allow ourselves to just be sometimes on the path? So these are the questions we're asking ourselves. Sometimes stops along the way are not only purposeful but necessary. Those of us who've experienced burnout recognize that they're very necessary, and not taking them has negative results. They're purposeful when we choose those, when we decide that that's just fine to take a break, to stop, to take a rest, to go somewhere beautiful, and stop trying to be spiritual, but just live our lives in that place, right? Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote, "The road to self-discovery often calls for a clearing away of the underbrush of ignorance, fear, superstition, and a sense of isolation which have made us feel we are unworthy, unheld, and lost. In the divine providence of good, salvation is unnecessary, but self-discovery is essential. We do not save that which was lost, we merely discover that which needs to be found." And there is a difference. However, the inner experience of it is kind of an experience of being lost. And that is exactly where we should be. You see, if we brought with us into this life all of the wisdom we have ever accumulated as a soul, we would be operating from that place of, like the Zen student whose teacup is now too full, and the master keeps pouring the tea in order to show an example to the student about how necessary it is to let go of what we think we already know in order to learn anything else. So we naturally come into this life with amnesia about our soul's past experience. It's important that we be lost so that we can truly discover at a deeper level who we really are and what home really is. Are you with me here so far? Yeah? Okay. Andre Gide said, "One doesn't discover new lands without consenting to lose sight of the shore for a very long time." And so we've lost sight of the shore, which is exactly right. So all those stupid things you did in your life, all those times you made crummy decisions or you were kind of off track, perfect. Perfect. It's exactly what you needed to do to get you to this place. And this place is exactly where you need to be in this moment to move you toward the next stop on the journey, okay? Rosalita de Castro said, "I see my path, but I don't know where it leads. Not knowing where I'm going is what inspires me to travel it." There is a certain amount of kind of anxious excitement about knowing you're heading somewhere, but not being exactly clear how to get to it. So we rely upon, instead, the GPS of the soul. Now, GPS means global positioning system, so probably it ought to be the CPS, the cosmic positioning system of the soul. That really allows us to know the best route to take right now. Sometimes it's the fastest route for this piece of the journey. Sometimes it's the most beautiful for this piece of the journey, the highest quality, that which works the best. And sometimes it's just the least stressful way to go. We vary the way that the route meets us and the way that we meet it. If you're trying to go fast and the route is providing you with all of this beauty, then what happens sometimes is we ignore, we don't experience, we don't allow the beauty that's around us because we're in such a rush. Sometimes we're trying to go beautifully and we're so distracted, we don't realize that the universe's timeline is trying to move us on. And so usually something will fall apart at that point, so that we have to be, unstuck from what's distracting us and move on. If you ever read the book, The Phantom Toll Booth, there's a section in it where the little boy and his dog come into the marketplace, and the marketplace is so fascinating. The booths and the colors and the sales people and the products and the music and the jugglers and the activity are so absorbing that he kind of forgets he was on a journey at all for a while. And sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen in order for him to wake up a little bit more and recognize, oh, I need to move on. Something may help him, or he may realize it for himself. So what's the best route? Is it the most comfortable? Is it the fastest? Is it the most scenic or the cheapest? It doesn't matter, because it will be all those things at one time or another, but never all of them at once, it seems like. The one thing to know, besides what is the best route to take, and this I think is really comforting and uplifting when we remember it, and that is that the destination is guaranteed. We are, whether we do it in this lifetime or not is immaterial. We are all on a journey to our soul's place of home, to our heart's place of home, and we are all going to be there. We're all going to arrive there. One of the reasons that's true, well, let me share this first. Errol Ozen said, some beautiful paths cannot be discovered without getting lost. And Thoreau said, the only people who ever get any place interesting are the people who get lost. Let me read that one again. The only people who ever get any place interesting are the people who get lost. So we are hopefully creating the most interesting journey possible for ourselves and for the divine presence that is expressing through us. As one of my ministerial colleagues said once, she never wanted to bore God. So she determined to live the most interesting life she could possibly live so that God wouldn't be bored being her. But the truth of the thing is, really, truly, we never really left. That's why the destination is guaranteed, you see, because we haven't really left the home of our hearts. We just think we have. We've gotten distracted and confused in a good way in order to remember, because we do that again and again. We remember, we pull ourselves back together again and again. And each time we go deeper and fuller into our sense of home, into the place of the truth of our being. So, I used to watch The Wizard of Oz as a child every single year. But I remember the first time I heard about it, my older brother had seen it in the movie theater. And it must have been, maybe it was the first year I was going to see it on television. Maybe it was the first year they ever showed it on television. For those of you that are younger, they used to show it every single year, right around now, it seems to me. And my family always watched it. But I remember the first time I heard about it, and my brother was telling me how the movie goes from black and white into color when Dorothy steps into Oz. And then how when she comes back home again, it all goes back into black and white. And I thought that was just amazing, that idea. And it was always magical to me. And so I enjoyed it every year, and I enjoyed the process with the wizard and how he gave them things and they experienced the change they were looking for. But what I didn't realize in all those years, what I didn't realize, I'm embarrassed to say, until not too many years ago, was that every one of them already had what it was they were looking for. They just didn't know it. They already carried that within them and demonstrated it, but they didn't recognize it. They didn't know. They were looking for something they thought was physical, when all the time it was a quality that all they had to do was find again inside themselves. So this is what we're doing. We're rediscovering our own hearts and souls as we walk this path. We're coming home, in a sense, or finding our way back, in a sense, to a place we never left, and recognizing it all over again as if it was for the first time, as the T.S. Eliot poem says, recognizing the place for the first time. It isn't really the first time, but it feels like it to us every time we rediscover it. There's a part of us that goes, oh yeah, that's right. And there's a part of us that says, wow, why was I ever not here? Why did I ever leave this place? Well, that's a good question for us to review with our souls when we leave this earthly life. Why would we choose to leave an expansive consciousness of wholeness and come into a more, well, a greatly reduced sense of that wholeness in this experience? And why would we do it again and again and again in some form or other, human or whatever it is? There's a reason. We don't necessarily need to know it right now. As Kathy Ann Lewis, Reverend Dr. Kathy Ann Lewis said once, everything in the mind of God is present and available within us, but it's only available on a need-to-know basis. And that's because the human brain couldn't possibly hold all that. We would just dissolve. So the need-to-know basis is, what is this expression that you are in this life right now, carrying this soul being? What does this one need to know? Not everything, just what this one needs to know on this journey now. And our life is the process of discovering those things we need to know and where we're called to grow so that we can expand into those and increase and deepen our experience of who we are as home, as that infinite oneness right where we are right now. This is a sweet, sweet story. I want to share this with you in conclusion today. It takes place at Christmas time. The new pastor and his wife had just been assigned to their first ministry to reopen a church in urban Brooklyn. They arrived in early October, excited about their opportunities. And when they saw their church, it was very run down and needed quite a lot of work. So they set a goal to have everything finished in time for their first service on Christmas Eve. Well, they worked very hard, repairing the pews, plastering the walls, painting, so on and on. And on December 18th, they were ahead of schedule and just about finished. And then on December 19th, a terrible tempest, a driving rainstorm hit the area and lasted for 2 days. And on the 21st, the pastor went over to check the church and see how things were, and his heart sank when he saw that the roof had leaked, causing a large piece of plaster about 6 feet by 8 feet to fall off the front wall of the sanctuary just behind the pulpit, beginning about head high. And the pastor cleaned up the mess on the floor, and not knowing what else to do but postpone the Christmas Eve service, he headed home with a heavy heart. But on his way home, he happened to notice that a local business was having a flea market, and the sale was for charity, so he stopped, and one of the items was a beautiful handmade ivory-colored crocheted tablecloth with exquisite fine work and fine colors and a cross embroidered right in the center. Well, it was just the right size to cover up this hole in the front wall. So he bought it and headed back to the church. Now, by this time, it had started to snow. And he saw an older woman running from the opposite direction, trying to catch the bus, but she missed it. So the pastor invited her to wait in the warm church for the next bus, which was due about 45 minutes later. And she sat in a pew and really paid no attention to the pastor while he got a ladder and hangers and so on to put this tablecloth up as a wall tapestry. And the pastor could hardly believe how beautiful it looked, and it covered up the entire hole. And then he noticed that the woman was walking down the center aisle, and her face was as white as a sheet. "If you don't mind my asking," she said to the pastor, "where did you get that tablecloth?" The pastor explained. The woman asked him to check the lower right corner to see if the initials EBG were crocheted into it there. They were. These were her own initials, and she had made this tablecloth 35 years before in Austria, she told him. The woman could hardly believe it as the pastor described how he had just gotten the tablecloth that very afternoon at the flea market. And then the woman explained to him that before World War II, she and her husband had been well-to-do people in Austria. And when the Nazis came, she was forced to leave. Her husband was going to follow her the next week, but she was captured, sent to prison, and she never saw her husband again. The pastor wanted to give the tablecloth back to her, but she made him keep it for the church. Then he insisted on driving her home. That was the least he could do. She lived on the other side of Staten Island and was only in Brooklyn for the day on a house cleaning job. So they had a wonderful service on Christmas Eve. The church was almost full. The music and the spirit were great. And at the end of the service, the pastor and his wife greeted everyone at the door, and many of them said they would return. One older man, whom the pastor recognized from the neighborhood, continued to sit in one of the pews, and the pastor wondered why he wasn't leaving. So he approached the man to find out if he was all right. And the man asked the pastor where he got the tablecloth on the front wall because it looked identical to the one his wife had made years ago when they lived in Austria before the war. And how could there be two tablecloths that were so much alike? The fellow told the pastor how the Nazis had come, how he'd forced his wife to flee for her safety and was supposed to follow her, but he had been arrested and put in a concentration camp, and he never saw his wife again. The pastor asked the man if he would accompany him on a little ride. They drove to Staten Island, to the same house where the pastor had taken the woman 3 days earlier. He helped the man climb the 3 flights of stairs to the woman's apartment and knocked on the door and witnessed the greatest Christmas reunion he could ever have imagined. Sometimes we find our way home in the most unexpected of ways, in ways we could never have imagined or predicted. And how could something like that not have been a divine coming together, a recognition and a reminder for us that the universe is always paying attention and it's always working for us, never against us, no matter how lost we may feel that we are in the moment. And to remind ourselves that, yes, sometimes we've judged ourselves so harshly for the path of choices we've made that we give up on finding our way home, or even in believing that there is a home for us to return to. But it is never too late to find our way back home. And in fact, we are always on our way back to the place we never left. Happy Thanksgiving. Namaste. Let's take this now into our hearts in prayer. The one infinite presence, limitless, ageless, unlimited by time or space. The essence of love manifests itself into all that is in form. It is every one of us. We are unique emanations of that one presence, unique manifestations of the divine, awakening to each other and to ourselves. So in this sacred Thanksgiving week, we bless the holiday in advance. We allow ourselves to celebrate our gratitudes particularly this Thursday, on our own or with others, at home or in special places, and we bring with us peace. We bring with us tenderness, forgiveness, love, and acceptance. We recognize each other as journeying souls, sometimes lost or broken, but always in the process of recovering, regrouping, recharting our way. And this is good. Our destination is guaranteed, and we are grateful. So we send our love out to all of our dear ones, far and near, both living and those who have left this form. And we hold them in our hearts with great gratitude that we have encountered them, that we have known them, that a part of them lives on in us. And we are empowered to transform all of it into our own unique pathway with great gratitude. So we release this prayer with that great gratitude, with love. We release it into the creative law, which acts upon it to bring it forward into experience now. And we release it into the heart of the divine presence, where it always has been the truth of who and where we are. We let this prayer go to do its work, and we just let it be. And together, we claim it as we say, and so it is. Yes. I invite you now to stand and join me in the morning's affirmation. My soul is my GPS. It leads me into the center of my being, the home of God. It stabilizes me and brings clarity. I trust the wisdom of my soul. It's never too late to find my way home. And so it is. You may be seated. I want to invite you now to take out, before we do the donations, I want you to take out the little card out of the envelope that you received earlier this morning. Now, those of you that were here a year ago, you probably have received this back in the mail from the one that you did for yourself last year. And I hope that some of what you intended to feel gratitude for at this time of year, you are feeling gratitude for. I invite you now to write down for yourself one or maybe two things that you would like to be grateful for at Thanksgiving time in 2023. Does anybody need a card or a pen? If you need a card or a pen, raise your hand. And address the envelope to yourself. One more here in the front, Paula, over on this side. A couple of them over here. Don't worry, we'll get there to you, Gail. So address the envelope to yourself. You're going to write on the card a couple of things you would like to be grateful for at Thanksgiving time next year. And then seal it up in the envelope. And Gail needs them, and so does this lovely lady at the back here too. You got one, Gail? Okay, Jerry needs something, Paula, here. And then we've got this lovely gal in the last row by Deborah, and she also needs some. So go ahead and do that and then seal it up. We're going to collect these, and next year, at the beginning of November, we're going to mail them back to you. So take a moment, wave at Paula if you need a pen. And when you're finished, go ahead and seal it up in your envelope. Oh, sorry, I'm licking mine. Don't lick it. Licking has no effect. Licking has no effect. Peel the sticky thing off, and then we'll have to throw all these away. But now, when we receive the offering in just a few minutes, put your offering and this in the basket, and the ushers will separate those out later, but that way we'll only have to do one collection. So I'm going to invite the ushers to come up to the front now, and I want to remind you all that if you would like to text to donate, you can do that. You can also donate to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living via PayPal or any of the usual ways. If you want to text, the number is 415-779-7613, and you can text an offering that way. In the meantime, one of the things that we do every week here is that we bless the offering that's being given and received. And as we do that, we're blessing what we are giving in the world. So this covers the whole last week. Anything you gave anywhere and everything that we have received. We're grateful for all of that. So we do our offering blessing together aloud. Now, if you're here for the first time this morning, your presence here is your gift today. For all of us, take your gift if you have it, your affirmations for next year, hold it near your heart, or if you're giving it with somebody else, hold it in your hands together as we say this offering. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is. Wait, let me give you that. Thank you. All right.
Here's a song I wrote a long, long time ago. It's called I Know a Place. And it's about living from that secret center, the center of our beings, that center of our heart, and a place
Jim,
we can return
can you turn it
to
up a little?
over and over again when we need to be reminded of who we are. Useless talk about things that don't really matter. Bruises on our hearts from the words that batter. But I know a place where we can go, where you can be all the love you are, all the love that's in your soul. Yes, I know a place where we can shine. Just close your eyes, step out of time. Step out of time. We don't have to hurry through our lifetimes. Seems the faster we go, the more we forget and need to refine. We don't have to fit into anybody else's schemes. For in turn, when it all comes around, we all fit into our own dreams. And I know a place where love grows tall and peace is the tiger within us all. Yes, I know a place where life is Just close your eyes, step out of time. 'Cause I know in time all things must end. I know this place will be there again and again. What started today will be just a memory in time. But I know a place is forever mine. I know a place. I know a place.
Thank you, Lisa. So now all of us together, on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, honor and receive this offering with great gratitude. And we send it out into the world this Thanksgiving week to affirm the home that we have never left, and let that be felt and experienced wherever this goes. And so it is. Now, if you're with us for the very first time today, there are welcome packets on this table at the back, along with magazines and things back there that you can pick up and take with you. In the welcome packet, you'll find a blue card like this. Amanda's holding the packet up back there right now. And the blue card says welcome at the top. If you fill this out and turn it in back there, Amanda's going to give you a little gift from us, which is our way of thanking you for being here. It's a little book, and that's our invitation to you to come back also as soon as you can. That little book can be carried in a pocket or a purse pretty easily and be available for you anytime you need to remind yourself of who you are or what's true about our connection with the universe. We hope you'll be with us often again. And I want to especially thank everybody that assisted in making this morning so lovely. In fact, Jim, I think we could probably turn the heat back on now. We turn it off during the talk because it gets so noisy, but I'll just talk a little louder through the announcements so we can warm up. Would that be okay with you? Oh, yes, I think that's a swell idea. Okay, so we want to thank Jim for making us warm again, and we want to thank the Frost family for this wonderful altar. We want to thank everyone who brought snacks, yay, 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 this morning, and that team and everybody else. So let's give them all just a round of applause. Thanksgiving Day is this Thursday, and we are having a community Thanksgiving at the home of Jet and Tinman Walker. Jet's up here right now, and she is providing the ham and the turkey, and we who attend are providing everything else, all the fixings. So the side dishes, the desserts, the beverages, all that stuff. There's very limited parking up the hill where Jet and Tinman live in Tiburon.
We have a little more than expected.
Oh, good. There's a little bit more than expected. The neighbors are away or something. Yeah? Yeah, great. They're not going to have their 1,000 cars there. So there's room for a couple more cars up there. But what we're going to be doing is having everybody park. I'm not sure where, Frank. Oh, as people arrive in Tiburon? Okay. So as you come into Tiburon, look for Frank. He'll tell you where to park. We'll shuttle people up the hill to Jets. If you... on the list back there, write down your name, your contact info, what you're going to bring. There's on the info table, there's a sign-up sheet back here. Mark off if you need to carpool or if you can provide a ride. If you need a ride, I know a couple people need rides from home, from where they live. So please indicate if you're really willing to carpool, if you can provide somebody with a ride. Even if that means you're all going to get to Tiburon and still have to take the shuttle up the hill, at least people who are intending to come can get there. Yeah, Frank? Oh, really? Okay, he thinks there's going to be enough parking there. So we will contact those of you that are on the list this week to make sure you have the address. Okay, it's in Tiburon. So sign up back there if you want to join the community Thanksgiving, and we'll have a swell time. Also, December 4th, we are going to be having our holiday art, craft, and gift fair. It's been a few years since we've had one of these. So there'll be tables at the back, and if you are a vendor who would like to participate by bringing things to sell that you make, the tables are $10 each, and I would just invite you to talk to Sophie this morning. Sophie's at the back waving. Sophie's this tall woman with the long arms and beautiful blonde hair. She is in charge of organizing this. So talk to Sophie or email her. Her email's up there during the week if you would like to find out more, if you have objects that you want to sell, things that you've made, and so on. And Sophie will work that out. So there's a little agreement for vendors to sign about that, and it's $10 a table, okay? And if you're not a vendor, bring some of your Christmas money and be prepared to look at all the wonders and take some of them home to share with your family at Christmas. All right, our Sunday hospitality team. This is the people that greet you at the door, the people that put out the snacks, the people that do the ushering, that receive the offering, that hand out stuff to you when we need things in the service. And if you are able to be on one of the teams, we would really appreciate that. Particularly, I think it's week 4. Is that right? I think it's week 4 that we're really looking for somebody else because we only have one person on for that week. So you can sign up to do that at the information table at the back. And you can talk to Paula Yu, who is back there. Wave again, Paula. Talk to Paula Yu if you're interested in finding out more about that. Or talk to any of this morning's ushers, and you'll see them putting out the snacks in just a minute. I think we have snacks. Fingers crossed. A lot of snacks. Okay, a lot of snacks today. The climate action tip of this week is to support endangered species by adopting an animal through the World Wildlife Foundation or the Sierra Club. And these are about 20% of the animals that they have pictures of on the World Wildlife Foundation or Fund's website of animals that you can adopt and help support and learn about that species. So we encourage, climate awareness and ecological awareness extends to the well-being of our fellow beings on the planet, some of whom are greatly endangered because of climate change. And so this is an opportunity to support keeping them thriving and healthy. All right. I want to remind you that prayer requests are always welcome. We have prayer request forms on the table, the practitioner table over here. These are our professional spiritual prayer practitioners. And Selma and Dana are here this morning to do prayer with you and for you right after the service. So if you would like a prayer, for whatever is bothering you, you can talk to them after the service, and they will do prayer for you right then. A brief prayer. They'll take you, where it's more private, and do a brief prayer. But you can request prayer and put it in the prayer box. You can go to the website, and under the resources tab, you'll find a place you can put in a prayer request online if you want to do that, okay? So now I'm going to invite the practitioners to surround the room as we prepare for the benediction and the closing. So first, the prayer. Now this closing is going to be this morning what we call a chamber of prayer, which means that you will be surrounded by each one of us speaking our own prayer aloud. Just don't try to grab onto the meaning of any one of them. Just let the energy of the prayers wash over you and receive them right now as we turn within to our hearts. And so it is. I think that Coco finished his prayer a little before some of the rest of us, but he gave us an "and so it is" early. So I invite you to stand and join me in the benediction and the closing song now. And we do this benediction in unison as we say, "I now walk, so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted, and whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally." And so it is. And this is Lisa with our closing song, "We Are the Light."
Taking it out into the world, and we are the light.
We've done this before, it's pretty simple.
We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. I trust in thee, I trust in you to shine. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. I trust in thee, I trust in you to shine. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. We are the light, we are the light, we are the light of the world. And what do lights do? Shine.